Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Darren Bucket and I love discussing African affairs. And it's been a while, but I'm here anyway to talk about the things that are happening on the continent. Now, it's been a full year of elections. And if you watch my end of year address on terms of geopolitics on the African continent, you'll be able to see the things that I've talked about. It's been the elections that have happened. And these elections have cut across so many countries, including Guinea, Uganda, which has not had its elections yet, but that will happen in January. Not so far away because anyway, the presidential candidates are actually into campaigns. Samia Suluhu of Tanzania, Malawi had elections, Botswana had elections, Namibia had elections, Togo also had elections. Cameroon had elections, seeing Biya take on his 8th term. So elections have been everywhere, including Traoré of Ivory Coast. So everywhere you have gone in the continent of Africa, including Somaliland, where people are having issues after Israel managed to pronounce Somaliland as an independent state. And many people have criticized that kind of move. However, they had their own elections and also had their president. But today, let's talk about Mamadi Doumbouya of Guinea, who came as a junta, ousted Alpha Condé. You remember the president who was either in a bunker or in a safe place where I don't remember what it was, but he was arrested. He was actually under arrest, and then he kept on calling out international bodies to come and rescue him. Well, that did happen, but he was overthrown after his family had ruled the country for quite a long time. And here, Doumbouya managed to come into power, overthrowing Alpha Condé and him becoming the military ruler at that time. Now, in September, if you remember so well, they had a constitutional referendum which saw the president's terms move from 5 years to 7 years, and also barring military officers from becoming president, which, I mean, he was a military officer, so he had to step down as a military officer to become a civilian as a president. To allow him to run for presidency, and that happened. So on Sunday yesterday, they went to the polls and they are voting. But the most interesting thing here is that most of his opponents, some of them have been banned from running, have been campaigning and all this, basically contesting for the highest office in the land. Others went to exile. The one who is there, who would be like the closest guy, is preaching things to do with anti-corruption and economic reforms, and clearly we don't see any, I personally don't see any hopes that he can win to become the president of Guinea. So I see Doumbouya becoming the president after a coup. So he has done his 4 years, now he's going to come in, when he becomes the president, he's going to rule Guinea for 7 years. It's going to be quite a time. But for me, I think it's becoming a new habit whereby opposition members are barred from running. You've seen this in Cameroon, you've seen this in Tanzania, now you see this in Guinea, and you ask yourself whether the concept of democracy is actually ideal on the African setting. And I've always argued that Africa was not ready for democracy. We needed to go through all the evolutions of the world, where you see the first world countries started with the industrial revolution and then all this kind of evolution before they came into things where democracy was now working. They had built a base, and that's where I think that Africa needed to start from, rather than just get independence and run into a system called democracy where a president runs for 5 years or 4 years and no one is even satisfied with what they're doing, and then eventually you have coups after coups after coups. Look at what's happened in West Africa. It's just not sustainable. And that's why we are. But also we expect more elections from Central African Republic, where they'll also be having the elections probably on Sunday this year. Although it will probably now be next year. But yeah, they've been through campaigns. But same thing. I mean, the president of Central African Republic is going to run for a term that he's not even allowed to run. But again, it's a constitution. It's just a document where people go and change. And before I end this broadcast, do you know, or have you ever thought about it, that most developed countries don't actually have a constitution that is functional? UK doesn't have a constitution. But they colonized the biggest parts of the world and instituted constitutions. Like they put up constitutions in those countries. It is a very interesting thing to look at. But, well, let's see what comes out from Guinea. Let's see what comes out from Central African Republic. But also watch out for my analysis on the East African affairs for 2025. My name is Darren, and I'll see you in the next one.